We're working on a project at Stand Up America called Bleeding the Dragon, and it's our way of portraying out there. The project's about halfway finished. We'll probably end up doing some television series on this, but if you look at the world today, you look at the United States, you know, there's the good dragon and the bad dragon. Everybody wants to make out that the United States is the bad dragon. And so if you remember the mythology of the dragon, you can never kill the dragon with one spear. It took many spears into the body of the dragon to bleed it to death. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what's happening in the United States. And when you look at the spears that are being thrown into the body of the United States for our enemies across the world, the global jihadis, Russia and China, they're not our friends. They would like to see us decrease in power and our influence in the world so they can increase their power. We see the domestic enemies. We see the media that completely distorts and takes away what America is all about and makes us into something we aren't. We look at the financial crisis, another spear into the body of the United States. We see our culture. So when you look at all these spears that are being thrown into the body of the United States, bleeding us to death, to the point now we're in massive self-destruction. So the question is, how do we stand up and get over that? There are a lot of solutions, and I could talk a lot about the international threats. I think 2010, the summer 2010, is pivotal in the United States. I think you're going to see things happening in the Middle East that we've forecasted now coming to pass this summer. We could see a massive attack occurring within the Middle East of Iran, Israel, their proxies in southern Lebanon, Syria. The world could change this summer. That's how critical it is from an international standpoint. All you have to do is watch the news and what's happening just in the last week in Israel, with Turkey now added to the chessboard, which used to be our ally, now siding themselves or aligning themselves with Ahmadinejad in Iran. You've got to watch very closely, ladies and gentlemen, what's happening in the Middle East, because it will change not only the world this summer, but will in fact change the United States to a great degree. So this whole thing is coming to pass, and if you look at biblical study all of that, you know, it truly may be that we're faced this summer with the Armageddon that has been forecasted. I don't want to scare the hell out of you tonight, but I just want you to be aware you've got to look at the tea leaves out there. You've got to look at what's going on, and it's not good. Let me transition a little bit what impact that has on the United States and where we are right now. It's also the tipping point in America, the elections, not only in June next week, but also in November. We have got to change the leadership that we have in Washington, D.C. And I want to say to all the candidates out there, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for running. Thank you for participating. But by God, you got to stand up, and we have got to win and take this country back. We've got to do it now. We've got to do it now. I prepared and I've written many articles on this in the last 6 months. One of the articles you may have read is Washington is brain dead. Now, do we have any medical doctors in here? Nurses? Brain dead, flatlined. I went through major heart surgery in January, and after I finished that, after 12 days in the hospital, 4 days in ICU, my wife had come in, I guess the first day I was in ICU. I had so many things attached to me, my head, everywhere. And, of course, you got that flatline machine over there, you know, that's always working, checking your cardiac and making sure your heart's working well. So I decided, after I was recovering in February up in Big Fork, and it was very overcast as it is in the wintertime up here. It's getting a little too gray for me. I need more sunshine. But I became more creative in my writing after my operation, and I don't know why. It's just it's a phenomenal thing. But the first article I wrote is Washington is brain dead. And I said, I'm not a medical doctor, but I certainly understand the flatline machine. When it goes flatline, that means nothing's happening and you're gone, you're dead. So for all of you running for office out there, my God, Let's get these brain-dead people out of Washington. Let's get them out of Helena. Let's get them out of our state capitals. We don't need them anymore. They serve no purpose. And that's why the elections this year are so important. We are in a major transition, so consider the international transition that we may go through this year, but also look at the United States on the transition that we have to make this year. Now, in my opinion, the elections in November will solve some things, but they won't solve everything. I'm not sure we can wait to 2012 and see the destruction of America, and so something's got to be done now. The Declaration of Independence, and I just wrote this article, I sent it to Dan, it'll probably be all over the internet tomorrow. You're going to get it here first tonight, and I'm probably going to be chastised by the left-wing media all over the world and all over the United States for what I'm going to say. But let me start out by, and I want to read it because I just wrote it this week. The Declaration of Independence states, to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute a new government, laying its foundations on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and their happiness. So just think about what's going on in the world and what our forefathers said way back when, in the founding of this country, back 1776. We cannot permit the leaders in Washington, in the White House, in the halls of Congress, and in our state governments to continue in their efforts to lead us down the road of progressive socialism and destruction of America. And when I say progressive socialism, that means progressing towards Marxism and communism. This is the current battle, and it was said by some of our candidates tonight, the battle we constitutionalists face, because you want to be a constitutionalist right now if you're running for office. If not, I'm not going to vote for you. And I know a lot of other people, because if you don't stand by our Constitution and its values, then we don't need you in office. That's how important this is.